Welcome to Universal Man, where we turn your flight into fight so that you can master yourself and conquer your goals. My name is Mark Webbett, and I'm here to help you sharpen your masculine edge. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my 3 main tips for making big decisions. Because I got some big decisions I got to make in my life, and there's certain advice that I always fall back on, and I want to pass that on to you guys. Big decisions, they come up in life. And if you handle them wrong, well, you can have big problems on your hands. And so there are some certain things that you can do, I think, to absolutely maximize your chances of making a good decision. And the first 2 of these things are things I got from my parents. So I was very blessed that, they gave me some very good advice on how to make big decisions. And then the third one is kind of one that I figured out on my own. So tip number 1, do your homework. And what I mean by this is that you have to take the time to read into whatever it is that you're thinking about doing. Read the fine print, do some research, talk to people who know what they're talking about. And so for me right now, the thing I'm trying to figure out is, what am I going to do with my next living situation? Are me and my wife, we're going to move? Are we going to buy a house? Are we going to rent again? If we're going to buy a house, how much do we want to spend? What place do we want to live in? What's the right kind of mortgage? All that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of decisions there, and it's kind of big stuff. And if you screw it up, well, you could get really screwed up. So that's one big thing you really got to take the time to delve into. And so, I turn to my book of advice and do your homework. All right, so understand how a mortgage works. I got to look at what that entails. I got to talk to realtors. I got to figure out how that whole buying process works. Understand the areas I'm looking at, really kind of look around, get to know them, dive into them, that sort of thing. And this holds true with everything, whether you're deciding where you want to go to college, what kind of major you want to do, if you want to get married, all this kind of stuff. It requires you to take some time to really think about it. And I think this is a difficult thing to do because often when we have a big decision on our plate, the immediate reaction is, I don't want to look at it. I just want to have it be done. I just want it to be figured out. And because of that, I think a lot of people, they avoid looking at the details because they're afraid of what they might find. They're afraid that, first of all, it's kind of overwhelming because often there's a lot of information out there on whatever the big thing is that you're dealing with. And that can be kind of scary, but it's in those details that you gain power. And so this is, doing your homework, I would say in a lot of cases, it actually kind of amounts to sort of an act of bravery in terms of you need to learn how to look at stuff that might be complex and overwhelming and that sort of thing. And so do that or potentially suffer the consequences of ignorance. And there are more than enough people out there who are willing to take advantage of ignorance. So, you have to protect yourself against that. And the way you do that, by doing your homework. So on to tip number 2. You got to sleep on it, okay? And what I mean by that is you have to take the time to take all that information you did your homework on and internalize it and let it settle inside of you. Because our mind, our conscious mind, our rational mind is just such a small sliver of our full brain's computational power, okay? So much of our brain's ability to really make the best decisions, I think, they happen on the subconscious level. And sleep is an integral part of this. I'm pretty sure there's studies on this too about how sleep is actually a process where it takes all this new information and sort of like digests it in your brain. There's like a mental digestion process that helps you distill down the most important factors, okay? And so whenever you got something big, you want to make sure that you sleep on it at least one night. Like sometimes you're down to the wire and you have to make a big decision quickly. You can almost always sleep on it for at least one night and see how you feel about it in the morning. Like if you're buying a house or whatever and the market's hot, you might need to be able to pull the trigger really quickly. And so at least try and give yourself a night as much as you can, unless you know exactly what you're looking for and that thing is already there. But in order to get to that point, you probably would have had to sleep on that kind of understanding, previously. And this even goes for smaller stuff too. I found myself using this when, for a while I was getting a little bit too into Amazon Prime, because you can just kind of keep ordering stuff. You can just keep clicking that button and stuff would just keep showing up on your doorstep. And it can be tempting to waste a lot of money like that. And our consumer culture is quite happy to take advantage of people who have that kind of impulsive sort of desire to consume things. And so what I found is like, all right, I'll say like if I want something, and I get this inkling, I'll do some research on it. I'll figure out the thing I want. Maybe it's a piece of, an instrument or music software or technology or like a camera or a new lens or whatever. And instead of just impulsively buying it, I'll be like, all right, I'll see if I still want it in a few days. I'll see if I still think it's the best idea in a few days. And if in a few days I'm still pretty solidly sold on it, well then, I'll get it. But if not, well, good thing I didn't buy it the first time I had that kind of impulsive decision. Like, before investing in anything significant, give your mind and your heart some time to digest it, because very often that first impression is not the full impression. So make sure you do that, okay? So step 1, do your homework. Step 2, sleep on it. And step 3, I think this might be the most important one, but in many ways is kind of like dependent upon the first 2. So the third tip is to make whatever your decision you're going to make from the mindset of the person that you truly want to be. Okay. So when you've got a big decision on your plate, it's stressful. It's worrisome. And I think the temptation then is to kind of regress into our comfort zone, to regress into doing the thing that we've always done. And that's great if you're happy with where you're at and you're happy with who you are. But I think in a lot of cases, these big decisions, they're opportunities for a real transition. They're opportunities for us to change the trajectory of our life. Whether, like I said, it's like choosing a college, choosing a major, choosing a career, choosing where you're going to live, whether you're going to, move forward with a very serious romantic relationship, whatever it is. Like, these are big things that can change the trajectory of your life. And you want to make sure that you make that decision from the mindset of the person that you want to be. And I think the temptation is to do the opposite, to try and retreat into an old way of being. And this is really not great if you don't like that person that you have been. So, an example would be, say you got, over the course of your life, you've played very small. You've always followed the path of least resistance. You kind of always stay inside your comfort zone, and you realize you're unhappy with that way of living, and you feel trapped and you're not really fulfilled and that sort of stuff. And you find all of a sudden that there's this new job opportunity for you. And this new job opportunity, it's, really exciting because it offers maybe a lot more money, a new like work that you really could care about, but it's going to ask you to really work pretty hard and really move outside your comfort zone. If you go back to that old person who follows the path of least resistance and you make your decision from there, well, you might turn that job down to stay comfortable, right? But, if you step into that person that you want to be, you realize you want to take more risks, you want to pursue more meaning, you want to pursue more fulfillment, you want to work harder and be more plugged in, well, make the decision from there. Make the decision from that person, because that's who you really want to be. And, that's not what it is for every person. Some people, it's the opposite. Some people, they have a tendency to bite off more than they can chew because they're unwilling to put in the time. They're unwilling to take things step by step. And so, they find themselves completely overworked, and they find themselves with huge credit card debt and that sort of stuff. And in that instance, maybe the person that you want to be is someone who's a little bit more conservative, who's a little bit more responsible, who's a little bit more patient. And so, you would have to make your decision from that place. And the more that you do your homework and the more you think about it and sleep on it and digest it, the more clear what your ideal looks like is going to be. Okay. And that's where you want to be when you're making big decisions. So, 3 things: do your homework, sleep on it, and make your decision from the mindset of the person you want to be. Hopefully you found this useful, helpful, interesting. Please let me know in the comments below. Maybe a place where you've done this and it worked out well. Maybe a place where you didn't do this and you regretted it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.